Right now, parts of the country feel like 30 below zero, with a dozen states caught in a dangerous Arctic grip. This is no ordinary cold snap. And just when you think it can't get any worse, a Clipper system is diving in, set to trigger blinding snow squalls that can drop visibility to nothing in a heartbeat. Some forecasters think I'm overstating this, and I'll show you why in a minute. But what's really keeping me up at night is what comes after. A pattern flip around the 10th could be the setup for a storm even bigger than the last bomb cyclone. Let me tell you why this isn't just about numbers on a map. I heard from a viewer yesterday, an older woman living by herself in Tennessee. Her power went out in last weekend's ice storm, and it's still not back on. The temperature inside her house hit 38 degrees. She's been forced to sleep in her car, running the engine in short bursts just to stay warm. The cold coming this weekend could turn her struggle from miserable to deadly. And the heartbreaking truth is, there are thousands of people in her exact situation right now. This is the reality we're facing. This is why I get so passionate about these forecasts. When I use a term like life-threatening cold, I'm thinking about real people who are in real trouble, not just abstract data points on a weather model. My colleagues in Tennessee are telling me there are still 40,000 people without electricity. Families are huddled around fireplaces, kids haven't seen the inside of a classroom in over a week, and the elderly are at extreme risk. Your neighbor could be going through this. What we're seeing is a classic Arctic outbreak. The jet stream is basically taking a nosedive straight from the North Pole, funneling that intensely cold air right into the eastern half of the country. And this Clipper system arriving Friday isn't just bringing more cold. It's packing enough energy to create whiteout conditions that can trap drivers on the highways instantly. This isn't hype, we've seen this movie before. This pattern has the same fingerprints as events that caused billions in damages and tragically cost lives. Now, this is where things get tricky and where I'm going against some of the computer models. The GFS model wants to keep this brutal cold locked in place for longer. But the European model, the Euro, shows it's starting to lift out by Monday. One of them has to be wrong, and based on what I'm seeing in the upper atmosphere, I'm putting my money on the Euro. If I'm wrong, I want you to call me out on it. But right now, my gut and the data are telling me a major shift is on the way, and it's what comes with that shift that's so alarming. Let's break down the timeline, because Friday is when this all kicks into high gear. The Northeast corridor from Boston all the way down to DC is in the danger zone. Friday morning commutes along I-95 could turn into a nightmare with sudden whiteouts. We're talking New York City dipping to 21, Boston to 18, Philly to 24, all with squalls and wind chills in the single digits. Upstate New York and New England will see dangerous lake-effect snow, with some areas in Maine potentially getting buried under 10 inches. For the Great Lakes region, this is where it gets genuinely dangerous. Chicago, Detroit, and Minneapolis will be in the 20s, but with wind chills plunging toward 30 below zero by Saturday morning. That's cold enough to cause frostbite on exposed skin in just 10 minutes. We're talking about a deep, penetrating cold locking in over Cleveland, Indianapolis, and the entire area. Just to put it in perspective, while Minneapolis is at 22 degrees, Miami will be sitting at 76. That massive temperature difference is the fuel for the storm engine. And something people aren't talking about enough is the economic fallout. The ice storm last week alone caused an estimated $2 billion in damage. Schools have been shut down for a week straight in 12 different states. Parents are trying to work from home while their kids are off, and businesses are struggling. This next wave of weather is only going to add to that toll. In the mid-Atlantic and Southeast, things are slowly improving, but cities like Charlotte, Atlanta, and Nashville are still reeling from the freeze. Now for a quick look at the South. Miami is bouncing back to a balmy 76 degrees after an unheard-of dip into the 30s last week, a shock to the system for sure. Tampa and Orlando are back in the 70s, which is a huge relief for everyone, especially the citrus growers who are watching those freeze warnings with pure panic. Along the Gulf Coast, from Pensacola to New Orleans, temperatures are rebounding into the upper 50s and low 60s, and across the Texas Triangle, Houston, Dallas, and Austin are seeing manageable chills in the 50s and 60s. Okay, hang on, I have to stop right here. Something just came in on the latest model run that changes everything for a huge part of the country. The 12Z European model just shifted the entire track of the snow squalls about 50 miles further south. This is a massive update. Cities in the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic that were expecting just a few flurries are now looking at a solid 2 to 4 inches of snow. This means your Friday commute just went from annoying to potentially hazardous if you're not prepared for it. Here's the new timing you need to know. Friday morning, between 7 and 10 a.m., these squalls will slam the Great Lakes. I'm telling you, visibility can go from miles to absolute zero in less than a minute. This is how those 50-car pileups happen. If you're driving near Cleveland, Detroit, or Chicago Friday morning, you either need to leave before dawn or seriously consider staying put. Then, between 2 and 6 p.m., that snow pushes east into the Mid-Atlantic, hitting D.C., Baltimore, and Philly right during the evening commute. Let's get back to the rest of the country. For the Midwest and Plains, St. Louis and Kansas City will be in the upper 30s. But as you head north into Iowa and the Dakotas, it's a different world. Des Moines will be in the upper 20s. But Fargo will be in the teens with lows below zero. The wind chills there are not just uncomfortable, they are life-threatening. The entire state of Illinois, from Chicago down to Springfield, is going to be locked in a deep freeze, with wind chills making it feel much, much colder than the thermometer reads. Out in the Mountain West, Denver is looking at a manageable mid-40s, while mountain passes are getting hit with continuous snow. Salt Lake City and Las Vegas are escaping the worst of it with temperatures in the low 60s. In the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Portland are looking at a cool and rainy low 50s pattern, which is pretty standard for them. And California is enjoying a pleasant break, with most of the state from LA up to San Francisco sitting around a comfortable 60 degrees. A far cry from the rest of the nation. The real danger sets in on Saturday as the core of this Arctic air settles. Wind chills across the Great Lakes and the Northeast are going to plunge to between 20 and 40 degrees below zero. Let me be clear, that is cold enough to freeze exposed skin in under 15 minutes. You cannot be outside without every inch of your body covered. By Sunday, the coldest of the cold will be parked over New England, with some of the most exposed, higher elevation areas potentially seeing wind chills that approach a staggering 50 below zero. But then comes the big pattern flip. And this is where things could get truly historic. Starting around Monday the 9th, that Arctic air finally begins to retreat. Warm air from the south will start surging northward, while colder air dives into the west, creating a massive coast-to-coast seesaw effect. By Tuesday and Wednesday, areas that have been brutalized by the cold, like the Ohio Valley and the Carolinas, will feel a significant and welcome warm-up. But this is the exact setup that can breed monster storms. Here's where it gets wild. As we head toward the 11th and 12th, the models are hinting at something big. When you get a rapid warm-up followed by another shot of cold, you create a powder keg. The battleground between that warm, moist Gulf air and the next wave of cold Canadian air is where the most violent weather is born. The Euro model is showing an aggressive storm system developing along this boundary. If that track holds, we could be looking at a devastating combination of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes in the south, and a crippling blizzard from Ohio to Maine. Think about what that means. People like the woman in Tennessee are barely surviving this first round of cold. If a second major storm, possibly an ice event, hits before power can be fully restored to those 40,000 homes, we are looking at a genuine humanitarian crisis. That is not me trying to scare you. It's simple math. An already crippled infrastructure plus another major storm equals a potential catastrophe. So, what can you do? You need to prepare right now, today, while you still have time and the stores are open. Stock up on food, water, and batteries. Charge every single device you own: phones, power banks, everything. If you have a generator, test it now and remember to only run it outside, far away from any windows, to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Please, check on your elderly neighbors or anyone you know who lives alone. A simple phone call could literally save a life. And bring your pets inside. If it's too cold for you to stand outside for more than a few minutes, it is definitely too cold for them. This is serious. If you absolutely must travel on Friday or this weekend, make sure your car has a full emergency kit. I'm talking blankets, extra water, a flashlight, snacks, and a portable phone charger. Getting stranded on the side of the road can go from being an inconvenience to a life or death situation very quickly in this kind of cold. And if you have a fireplace, make sure you have plenty of dry firewood ready to go. You might end up needing it. This weekend is going to be brutal, but we can get through it if we're prepared. So here's what I'm watching. 1. Friday's Clipper system and its dangerous flash freeze snow squalls. 2. The weekend's brutal Arctic blast, with life-threatening wind chills across the northern half of the country. 3. The big pattern flip around the 10th of the month, which will bring a welcome thaw. And 4. The major storm potential between the 11th and 13th. If the Euro model is right, we could be dealing with a massive, multi-state weather disaster. That's the one I'm watching like a hawk.